Hi, my name is Kat. I'm an artist, teacher, and I just saw your work on Instagram and I think you're fantastic. I have an opportunity to showcase local artists and think you would be perfect for it. Is there a time that we could schedule a conversation on the phone this week to talk about this opportunity further? Let me know. And you're watching Artists Beware, the series where I talk about all of the shady things going on in the art world. Yes, I have a mullet. I look like if Carly Rae Jepsen and Tim Rogers had a kid, and that's gender, baby. I live by that. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing, liking, commenting, thumbs up, liking, thumbs down, subscribing, following, ringing that bell, and subscribing. It really, really helps me out. This video is going to be a little bit more specific than the last couple videos that I've made. I'm not talking about a grander concept. I'm talking about one specific organization that I think really needs discussing. And that organization is RA, Natural Born Artists. So strap in and strap on, because I'm a footloose woman with a newfangled full access to an air horn sound effect. And I'm not afraid to overuse it. I admit that the timing of this video coming out might seem a little odd because RA as an organization is kind of in remission right now because of the effects the pandemic has had on physical art events. But according to their website, they do have plans to start doing events again this year. I haven't seen any that have happened yet this year, so I'm not sure what the future holds for them, but I wanted to make this video in case, when, let's be real, they do come rearing their head back into the art world, so that if you are approached by them, you have this video to look for. But before I go into any dirt, let me first say that this is all my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. Everything's alleged. I can't confirm any of this. I'm genuinely a little afraid that if they see my video, they will come for me because they do have a history of not particularly liking criticism. So I'm going to be delicately wording anything beyond the cold, hard facts. The point of all my Artists Beware videos is to protect other artists from being taken advantage of. And this one is no different. So what is RA? And what have they done to warrant a full, probably 30+ minute video all about them? Part 1, what is RA? I can't even open a Seltzer can correctly. No wonder my parents don't love me. So, RA, Natural Born Artists, or RA Artists, or just RA, is a for-profit arts organization that puts on pop-up one-night events across many seemingly random disciplines all around the world. Here's the goal of the company according to their mission statement on their website. RA spotlights independent talent in visual art, film, fashion and accessories design, music, performance art, beauty, crafts, tech, and photography. RA is a fun and alternative way for creatives to showcase both to their local community and to the world at large. We are not your average art show. We are loud, colorful, creative, and all about our artists. We are RA. From their mission statement, you get the whole vibe that they're not like other girls. They're cool and fun, unlike all of those other very stuffy art events. They're just one of the guys. And it's so weird that they're wearing makeup right now. RA was founded in 2009 by the current CEO, Heidi Luera, who was a fashion designer and started putting on events to showcase her work and the work of other people in her community. She began hosting events around the LA area, and while this started as small, sort of local events, it soon expanded rapidly through the 2010s into hundreds of events being hosted around the world in countries like Canada, Mexico, and Australia, where they now have an established permanent presence. They also have other programs that they started for the goodwill of artist communities. Like in 2015, they started an agency called Found, which connects artists with businesses to give them paid opportunities for things like murals and illustration work. Let's check out to see how they're making a difference. Oh, well, that's okay. No biggie. It's just, one thing. It's a fluke. There must be just something, weird with the website or, whatever. So let's look at the film festival that they started in 2016. That's for edgy, independent filmmakers. It appears it hasn't happened since 2018. Interesting. That's fine. That's, still advertised as a thing that they do on their website. Surely the gracious workshops that they hold for youth at the local boys and girls clubs in the LA area are still going on, right? To teach, disadvantaged inner city kids art, like they advertise on their website. Is there even a link? The most recent information I could find out about any of this was from 2010, from one workshop. I genuinely cannot find any evidence of it happening after that. I hope it has, for the sake of the kids, but I can't find anything. Well, as of 2020, they have hosted over 1,500 total events around the world and have, according to their website, 80 total employees. In addition to these physical events that they also hold, they also host artist profiles on their website as sort of like it's like a social media platform for artists' portfolios, kind of like an ArtStation or a Behance kind of thing, where people can search different artists and find their profiles. I did take the time to read through their entire terms and services policy that is stated on their website. And I found something interesting, that if you upload images of your artwork to the RAW website for your profile, this is what you are agreeing to. For any content that you submit, you grant RAW artists a worldwide, perpetual, non-exclusive, irrevocable, royalty-free, sub-licensable, and transferable right and license to use, reproduce, communicate, distribute, share, copy, modify, delete in its entirety, edit, adapt, publish, translate, publicly display, publicly perform, use, create derivative works from, and or sell and or distribute such content and or incorporate such content into any form, medium, or technology, whether now or hereafter, known throughout the world without compensation to you. Meaning they can do anything they want, include make money, change, or just straight up steal your artwork if you have your images up on their website. That is what you are agreeing to. Read the terms of use. While their artist profiles are an important part of their brand, their main bread and butter is the showcase events that they hold. RAW will rent a venue for a single night, typically within or on the outskirts of a major city, and try to bring as many artists as possible together under one roof to showcase their work. This is all fine on its face. Pop-up events are not a bad thing. The problem I have with their events specifically is the way that the events themselves are designed, their recruitment tactics, and their business model. So everything. Basically, I have a problem with everything. So let's get into specifics. Part 2, how it works. So if RAW is looking to have an event in a city that they aren't established in and they haven't had an event in before, they will hire essentially subcontracted organizers who they call stakeholders. You can apply to be a stakeholder on the RAW website, and it asks you to fill out your experience hosting events as well as kind of like your general resume. However, I have read that you do not need to have any prior art organizing experience to host and organize one of these events. Since the events have a ticket cost to attend, the stakeholders will organize the events in hopes that they will make money in return from those ticket sales. This is not without risk to the stakeholders though, because according to the Cincinnati City Beat in 2014, some financial responsibility lies within the stakeholders. Quote, RAW allows locals in some cities to oversee their own locations in exchange for sending a franchise fee back to LA after each event, where their headquarters are. If independent contractors across the country could recruit enough artists to make a profit themselves, Raw would just sit back in LA counting franchise fees. But both of Cincinnati's previous directors quit because they didn't make enough money after repaying Raw for their upfront costs and various fees. But if these stakeholders do decide to hold events, what they will do is they will typically book a date in a theoretical venue for the event that they want to have in the city. But according to some emails that I've read from other artists, they'll sometimes not have a venue secured before trying to recruit artists for an event. The venues that they use are all over the place in their typical usage outside of these events. I've seen wedding venues, nightclubs, bowling alleys, conference facilities. Like, I've seen so many different types of usage. Basically, it seems like they will book any venue that can hold a crowd. Put in joke. I wrote put in joke, so I'm just reading put in joke. So once they have the event planned, or at least loosely planned, instead of having artists submit to showcase their art in their event, they will typically start cold emailing any artist within the local area trying to recruit them to participate. I assume they do this because they never have enough artists submitting to their showcases, because they will just go through Instagram tags, they'll go through ArtStation, they'll go through any social media profiles, figure out what artists are local to any specific area, and just start cold emailing them out of the blue, asking if they want to participate. According to a few artists that I was reached out to, they have no idea how Raw actually found their artwork or their email because they did not have any of their art posted publicly. They posed the theory that it was possible that Raw was working with the university that they were going to and somehow got their email through that connection, but they aren't sure about that. But it just seems odd that without even seeing artwork or even having any accessible public profile, they can just email you asking you to participate. However, I have no way of officially confirming this. Part of their recruitment strategy is typically to target new artists or art students in their emailing campaigns, but not always. I know a lot of fairly established artists that have received emails. I myself have received an email. Back in 2008, I received a message from them in regards to an event that they were hosting in Boston, where I was living at the time. And by the way, any sort of receipts that I have, I'm going to be blocking out any specific details so that, you know, nobody's thrown under the bus here. I don't want to expose anybody specifically who's just doing their job, but I want to show that exactly what these emails look like in case you get them in your inbox. Hello. My name is blank, and I work on the curation team for an arts organization called, Raw Artists. We are an international organization that hosts quarterly showcases for indie artists in 60 cities around the globe. I found your profile on Instagram and think you might be a good fit for our upcoming opportunity. Raw Boston presents blank at blank on such and such date. I really want to put you in touch with one of our show coordinators to see if it's a fit. Raw events bring together at least 60 artists, and we usually have over 900 visitors. So it's a great way to find new customers, followers, and fans. Please, if you are interested to find out more about the show, let me know what is the best phone number to reach you and what is your preferred call time. We schedule calls Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. EDT. I also received several emails after this asking me to participate in an event in Boise, Idaho, which I've never been to. So it's pretty clear to me that these are copy-pasted messages. Obviously, if they're sending them to hundreds of artists, they're not going to write individual emails to each individual artist. But you can tell this is a pretty generic email. Sometimes they'll look like a little bit less generic, and it's kind of hard to tell if it is a copy-pasted message or if they've taken the time to at least write a personal blurb about you in their email. And they dish out compliments and make you feel good by reaching out to you. So it can be pretty easy to be deceived by these types of emails. There are some odd tidbits that I want to kind of go over in this email and analyze a little bit of things that I would perceive as slightly off and that just kind of raised a little bit of an alarm. And here's what they are specifically. In this email in particular, they say nothing about my art or me specifically, just that they found me on Instagram, which is pretty, generic. They stress the importance of attendees, followers, fans, and customers when talking about their event. AKA, they're basically saying this will be great exposure without saying the word exposure. And I think the one that really kind of throws people off is that they ask for a number to call you. I just find that odd. Like, I don't want to talk to my grandma on the phone, let alone some stranger from an art organization I've never heard of. For a short time in 2010, I worked as an inbound call representative, basically trying to sell people early forms of e-cigarettes that were advertised to get people to stop smoking. I learned that the reason that these types of businesses want to talk to you on the phone because they know that speaking directly with another human makes it a lot easier to sell you something. It is a sales tactic, and I cried every single day at that job. I chose not to follow up on that email, which my silence was met with many follow-up emails asking why I was not responding. But their email did make me curious enough to look into them, because I hadn't heard of them before, and see exactly what the deal was with their events. So here's what happens after you respond to their emails. After you respond to their initial email, they will break down their business model for you. They will tell all participating artists in the event that if they would like to take part, they are responsible for selling 20 tickets to the event priced at $22 to $25 a ticket. If the participants fail to sell all 20 tickets, they will be responsible for paying the cost of any unsold tickets. This sets the value of participating at $440 to $500, either being paid in full by the artists themselves, or it will be subsidized by any attendees that they invite. I suppose, to their credit, they don't only hide this fact in an email pitch. It is stated on their website, but can only be found on one specific part of their frequently asked page, halfway down. I plan on going deeper and talking more about the ticket sales component of their business model later in this video, but I want you to keep that little nugget of info in your head, because I'm gonna come back to it, because it is pretty critical and it is a huge crux of the issues that I have with this company. But just know that if you don't have a lot of experience showcasing your art at events, the idea that you are on the hook to sell tickets to the event that you are participating in as an artist is not typical, and I personally do not support it. My assumption is that after they hit 60 artists confirmed to take part of the event will go on as planned. I'm getting the 60 artist number because that's what they advertise in their emails, and they often say every event has at least 60 artists. That is the number that they use frequently, so that's what I'm assuming is the minimum number of artists they usually have participating in events. But if they don't meet a threshold of participating artists, the event will usually be canceled or rescheduled. During the actual events themselves, they will have performers, musicians, fashion designers, and more live entertainment going on, typically on a stage, the center of the event, while visual artists are set up in makeshift booths around the rest of the venue. The idea with these booths is that people will walk around the venue, look at your stuff, and potentially buy things from you, right? It's typically a maker's fair style event where you have things for sale and people will buy things from you. Doing this in a dimly lit, loud nightclub or a bowling alley with people drinking alcohol and Raw not providing any insurance on the art that is showcased sounds like a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. And in no universe would I be able to justify that experience being worth $440 to $500. Since I have not been to one of these events myself, I found that, again, the Cincinnati City Beat had a great description of what these events actually feel like to attend. Quote, visitors navigated the wide variety of work displayed in a U-shaped collection of booths between the stage and the bar area, checking out exhibitions of large, colorfully painted canvases adjacent to pop-up handmade jewelry counters. Beauty school students displayed Paul Mitchell hairstyling options, while models wearing Touch Me Tees color-changing clothing slipped in and out of a makeshift changing room near the bar. They then said this about the music taking place on stage while all of this was happening. Quote, before the next band took the stage, its lead guitarist gracing the largely distracted audience with a type of screechy, behind-the-head guitar solo typically heard at a high school Battle of the Bands concert, or more appropriately, echoing down the empty halls of a practice space as a joke. An older woman covered her ears and shuffled towards the front bar with a pained expression on her face. Yikes! That does not paint a favorable picture. In fairness, there are participants in this event that walk away with an overall positive experience and don't have wildly negative things to say about their experience in the event, which I'm glad for. Don't get me wrong. It would suck if not a single person got a valuable experience out of this, and I'm glad that at least some of the people are feeling like they got their money's worth. However, there are an unignorable number of participants who are speaking out against Raw after participating in their events. Although it can be challenging to actually find reviews that speak critically about Raw. In the past, Raw has allegedly manipulated Google's SEO according to internal emails that were leaked to bury any negative reviews of the organization. Gina Madison, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, wrote a 3-part series for meetinginthemedia.com about her experience in the Raw event, both in the pre-production, the event itself, and what happened after the event. She cited many unprofessional things that the showcase organizers did, including expecting the artists to be at the event for almost 12 hours consecutively without providing them any food or drinks, that when she was screening her films projected onto the wall, they didn't have any sort of projector screens, and it was basically a shit show and nobody could actually hear the film due to how loud the volume was, that her table smelled like urine and was sticky because beer had been left on it from a previous event. I can feel all of the little cracks showing when I look at the photos and hear artists' experiences. Now that we understand the events themselves, let's talk about the business model. Part 3, the triangle. Let's say, theoretically, that the business model of Raw and where the money comes from to fund Raw is shaped like a triangle, where the money comes from the base of the triangle and fewer and fewer people exist at the top where all the money is being funneled up to. At the bottom of this triangle, you have the attendees. These are the people that are being sold the experience of the Raw event. They are paying for the ticket cost of the event, and those ticket sales is where all of the money that funds Raw comes from. Above the attendees, you have the artists. Instead of a traditional format where the company or the venue is in charge of selling tickets, the artists are responsible for selling 20 tickets each, and they can choose to pass off that financial burden underneath them to the attendees or pay it themselves. So this establishes that there is a buy-in cost to take advantage of this opportunity. And while artists are selling down the line to the attendees, they themselves are being sold exposure by the next rung up, right? Artists cannot directly make money just by participating in the event. They're being sold exposure, right? If you look back on those emails, that is the main selling point to participate in the event, is that they'll get new followers, new fans, and potentially new customers. That's not making money from Raw itself. That's making money from the people who are attending Raw, who you've already sold to down the line in the form of ticket sales, but you don't see any of that money in return. And on that note, I do want to specify that if you are an artist and you sell more than 20 tickets, you do not make any money from those tickets, even if you've sold more than the minimum. That still goes back to Raw or the organizer. So you can't make money off of the tickets, even if you sold 50 or 100, which I think is an important distinction. And what this does is that this passes on the responsibility of advertising, promoting, and networking onto the individual artists who the events are supposed to be for specifically and are supposed to be helping. Yes, you need to do some amount of that stuff for any event that you are participating, but you should not be financially on the hook for doing that. You're not a promoter. You're not the organizer. You are participating in the event and being told that it's in your best interest to do so and that it will further your career. And in reality, the artists are really fronting the bill to the whole event. Let's crunch some numbers and get a ballpark for how much money we are talking about for any particular event. Like we've established, Raw advertises that each event has 60 artists or more. So we're going to take the minimum and just say, let's say an event has 60 artists. If each artist is on the hook to sell 20 tickets at $22 to $25 a piece, this means that the value of each artist, or how much money is responsible by each artist, is from $440 to $500. So if you multiply 440 all the way to 500 per artist times 60 artists in total for the event, that comes out to between $26,400 to $30,000. And to be clear that this is income, not profit, but this is how much money they are making solely in ticket sales. And when they're holding hundreds of events a year, they've claimed that they've held 1,500 events. That's a lot of fucking money. That is a lot of money in total. So like we've established, you have the participating artists, and above that you have the subcontracted organizers or the stakeholders. They are collecting the money from the ticket sales, it seems, but are required to send thousands of dollars in fees back to Raw, deducting any amount that they've made from those ticket sales. They burden the responsibility of the cost to organize and run the event, which is a lot of money. And regardless of how much money they get in ticket sales, they have to send back a franchise fee as well as other fees back to Raw no matter what. They are on the hook for that amount of money. So sometimes independent organizers will make almost no money from these events, or they will actually end up owing Raw money in the end. So while they are selling down the line to artists, they are being sold up the line by Raw itself. And what they are being sold is the potential to make a lot of money from the ticket sales. I think having the organizers being financially responsible for the event is partially what creates kind of the clusterfuck of disciplines in a single event. That's why you have like makeup artists and hairstylists along with painters and illustrators and musicians and fashion designers. It is a lot of things going on under one roof, and I think they're just trying to get as many people across as many disciplines as they can imagine to participate so that they don't lose money in the end. And above the organizers, you have Raw itself, who allegedly stand to profit the most from these events while putting, I would say, the least amount of risk into them. I understand that this is how capitalism works, Like, I'm not a stranger to capitalism. I know this is how companies are structured, where you have a big base and you have fewer people at the top. But it is the fact that they've passed off this financial burden to all of the people underneath them, including essentially customers, or, you know, the people who are supposed to be benefiting from this event. That is the part that makes it quite sus. Raw claims that they've never turned a profit from any of their events, and that any money that they make goes right back into the community, but they are literally a for-profit company. So I guess we are just supposed to believe them. So, in conclusion, we have looked at the history of the organization, the way that they operate, and how their business model is structured. Knowing all of this information, it is of course up to you to decide whether or not you would participate in these events. I assume that some people are going to be searching for videos on YouTube, wanting to know if this is a scam. That is up to you to make that decision. But if you came to this video looking for advice, my advice would be stay away. Stay far away. They have all of these flowery statements about how much they support their artists and how they do all of this for the individual artists, and that they're doing so much for their community. But if you really look and peek behind the curtain, it's hard for me to see it that way. If they reach out to you, it can feel really tempting to want to take part. And I think they kind of capitalize on this like side hustle culture that we have, where you really want to make art your business. That is an understandable desire, and they prey on that. But I would say if you are reached out to, and if you are tempted, search out other similar kinds of events in your area. Plenty of makers fairs and smaller community events take place all the time. You'll just have to find them and approach them yourself. Usually, they won't come to you, but it's worth doing your research and finding stuff that is benefiting the local artist community. I will be interested to see how they return post-pandemic and what that looks like. I doubt that they're going to be gone forever. So keep your eyes peeled for when they slither back into your DMs. Also, if you have worked with or for or have any experience with Raw, I would love to hear about it in the comments. And I think it would be really beneficial for other people to see that publicly. So if you have experience, please comment. I would love to read it. So thank you guys so much for watching. And a special thank you to my patrons who support me over on Patreon. I objectively love you more. If you would like to support this channel, please head over to my Patreon, where I post exclusive art guides, process videos, and sneak peeks to public content that I post here on YouTube. And you get your name in the credits of each video. What a value. Next video may be another Artist Beware video, or I am thinking about starting a series where I talk about interesting moments and fun moments in art history, because I'm a fucking nerd. Like the time Dole got angry at Georgia O'Keeffe because she wouldn't paint a pineapple. Let me know if you'd be interested in videos like that. They might be a little bit shorter. I think they'd be fun. They'd be kind of like a breath of fresh air from talking so much about like negativity and doing so much research into like negative stuff in the art world, because I think there are great things that I do want to talk about and that deserve their own space. Until next time, doing art. Bye.